Okay, so today we're going to look at one of the more recent, actually I should say the most recent Supreme Court decision of Endrew F. And this case certainly addresses the principle of FAPE, free and appropriate public education. So Endrew F. again was a Supreme Court decision in 2017, and it was here that the courts attempted to define what qualifies as an educational benefit, with an emphasis though on progress. So that's a bit of a different twist than what we're seeing from previous cases. And the decision in terms of this particular case was unanimous, and that doesn't always happen. But in Endrew F., the unanimous Supreme Court overturned the decision of a 10th Circuit Court of Appeals that had applied merely more than de minimis standard for FAPE for a child. And so the Supreme Court is looking at progress for children to be more than minimal. And the final opinion written by Chief Justice Roberts interpreted Raleig's decision, because as we know, that was one of the most important previous decisions, the Raleigh case. And so they were looking to interpret Raleigh and I guess in a way saying that Raleigh had sort of this middle positions between being not enforceable at all and really looking to try to afford a child an opportunity to achieve to his or her full potential. And so, as we know, as laws move forward, they are interpreting previous laws and standards. So again, the goal of this decision was progress. The Raleigh case gave us the best test for FAPE at the time, and this court read Raleigh as pointing to a general approach to meet its substantive obligation under IDEA. A school must offer an IEP that's reasonably calculated to enable a child to make progress appropriate in the light of the child's circumstances. So the approach is on reasonable but not ideal, but the emphasis is progress for the individual child, given his or her unique needs. So the court did, in a way, reaffirm Raleigh, of course, statement that if a child is fully integrated in the regular classroom, passing marks and an advancement from grade to grade to the general curriculum will satisfy IDEA. So again, not abandoning Raleigh, though a footnote to the opinion warned that the guidance should not be interpreted as an inflexible rule, and is not a holding that every child advancing from one grade to the next is automatically receiving an appropriate education. The court in Endrew said that a child not fully integrated in the regular classroom may not have the ability to achieve at grade level. Again, looking at a unique child, but the IEP for that child should be appropriately ambitious in light of his circumstances. So that's the language used, appropriately ambitious, a standard that is markedly more demanding than the merely de minimis test applied by the 10th Circuit. The goals may differ, but every child should have a chance to meet very challenging objectives. So we know that FAPE does not guarantee, though, self-sufficiency, and the parents that brought the case on behalf of their son, Endrew, really was looking to guarantee what they termed self-sufficiency. The court in Endrew rejected the parents' argument that children with disabilities must be offered an education that provides the opportunities to attain self-sufficiency and to contribute to society substantially equal to the opportunities provided to children without disabilities. This court also noted a similar standard that was rejected in Raleigh, And Congress, though it revised the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act several times since 1982 when Raleigh was heard. And essentially, since that time, between 1982 and 2017, when Endrew was heard, FAPE was not really materially altered in any way. The court said it was not creating a bright line rule, but said the absence of the rule should not be taken as an invitation to the courts to supplant the role of school authorities, to whose expertise and professional judgment deference should be paid. So if we really look at the outcome of Endrew case, some would say it was not necessarily a win for parents. Some would say nothing much has changed, but others would say, parent advocates would say that a lot has changed, that we are considering individual children still, but that the goals have to be ambitious for the child. Endrew F, we have had a number of cases after Endrew F, and on this particular slide, I just show a sample of the cases heard with focus on the Third Circuit, where I live and many of you live in Pennsylvania. We know the Third Circuit encompasses New Jersey and Delaware and Pennsylvania. And so these are cases, that have sort of pushed and looked at Endrew F, and we will be covering a number of these in classes. But just to give you a flavor of some of the outcomes, in depth, some of the outcomes, we have the Yorktown Central School District in 2018, and here it was ruled that the IEP is not necessarily inadequate because a student with a disability is progressing slower than children without disabilities. The student's progress must be measured against his or her potential or circumstances. In Rosaria versus Madison City Board of Education of 2018, a district court indicated where parents contend that the school district's IEP was not appropriately ambitious under the Endrew F case. The district court, citing several metrics, found that the IEP provided FAPE, as demonstrated, for example, by the student's progress from an 8% to a 63% score on a word assessment and a huge gain in the student's math standing. In CB versus the District of Columbia of 2018, it was found that failure to follow IDEA's evaluation process may result in an IEP that is not appropriately tailored to the student and is inconsistent with Endrew F. And so here we see that what we've known already, that if you don't provide a good evaluation, you're not necessarily going to get a quality IEP. In KD versus the Downingtown Area School District of 2018, this particular case was interesting to me, obviously, because it's local. And it's actually a Third Circuit level court case, so it went up to as high as the Third Circuit. And here the court found that evidence of low progress does not prove that the student's IEP is not challenging enough. So again, if the child doesn't make progress, that doesn't mean there's a faulty IEP. So perhaps there's something else going on. In the Johnson versus the Boston Public Schools, which was a First Circuit level case of 2018, the decision indicated that evidence of slow progress alone is not per se indicative that the student's program failed to meet the Endrew F standard. The question is whether the student's rate of progress is appropriate given his or her performance. In CF versus the Radnor Township School District, another court decision out of the Eastern District of Pennsylvania in 2019, it was decided that an IEP that includes the measurable annual goals recently grounded in the abilities and needs identified in an evaluation of a student's educational and developmental circumstances meets the Endrew F standard. So again, we have quality evaluation based on progress, good IEP will meet the standard of Endrew F. In the Perkiomenville Valley School District versus SD of the Eastern District in 2019, it was found that the failure of a student to meet an IEP goal may be troubling, but that alone does not automatically render the IEP inappropriate or inadequate. In Matthew B. versus the Pleasant Valley School District, the last case we're going to cover in this slide presentation, again, Pennsylvania, 2019, this was a middle district court. Here the decision stated that where a student's IEPs repeat year after year, in other words, the goals are repeating year after year, that the student has nearly mastered and fails to explain how the school district will help the student attain her goals set forth in the IEPs are deficient because they fail to provide the student with an appropriate, ambitious program. So here, the courts are really looking at the progress of the student, the individual child's circumstances, as well as certainly quality evaluations and IEPs. And these are a number of cases that have been heard since Endrew F. So the laws keep evolving. And that will conclude today's.